Welcome to the Be Well Philly Fest, presented by Independence Blue Cross. My name is Dan Famular, the area sales manager here in Philadelphia for Bota Box Breeze. Bota Breeze wines are uniquely blended for those looking for a lighter body, refreshing wine. Bota Breeze offers all the flavor, taste, and enjoyment of traditional wines, with fewer calories, carbs, and lower alcohol. Bota Box Breeze also happens to be lower in sugar and gluten-free. It's perfect for those with an active lifestyle. Bota Box Breeze is proud to bring you the Be Radiant Hour. Cheers, Philly.
Welcome to Be Well Philly Fest, presented by Independence Blue Cross. A special thank you to Bota Box Breeze for sponsoring this talk, as well as the other talks within the Be Radiant pillar, happening at 5 p.m. each day. My name is Danielle Massi. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, master shadow worker, and owner of the Wellness Collective, Philadelphia's first holistic healing center. I opened the Wellness Collective after a health journey that completely turned my world upside down. My life changed the week before my 30th birthday, and no one, especially me, saw it coming. The story went like this. A seemingly normal, healthy mother of two heads to a routine gynecology appointment and within 2 weeks is given a diagnosis of cervical cancer. It was like the beginning of a bad Hallmark movie. Cancer. How could this have possibly happened to me? Both my doctors and I were floored because there were no symptoms, no abnormal previous test results that we could pull from, and no indicators whatsoever that this would be the outcome that we now had to face. I wrestled with this for quite some time. How could I have possibly developed cervical cancer if I was completely healthy? The short answer is because I wasn't as healthy as I thought I was. Health is an overarching term with a multitude of layers that encompass it. When I believed that I was healthy, it was because I was following the societal rulebook for health that I had learned throughout my entire life. I ate 3 meals a day. I slept 8 hours. I had a job to go to, and I got moderate exercise. I was in a healthy relationship with a loving partner, had a supportive family, and wonderful long-term relationships with friends to rely on. But it turns out that there were things I was actively avoiding, and avoidance and repression are preliminary indicators of disease. At the time of my diagnosis, I was a licensed psychotherapist with a background in cognitive neuroscience. I had made a career out of understanding that our mental health takes a toll on our physical health, and the mind-body connection is responsible for most, if not all, chronic illnesses that we humans encounter. When my doctors were attempting to find a cause for my cervical cancer diagnosis, they only looked at my body. What they forgot to examine was my mind. Leading up to my cancer diagnosis, I had experienced significant levels of stress over long periods of time. As a child, my family experienced hardship. My parents did a wonderful job trying to hide this from me, but stress levels are transmittable. What that means is that stress in itself is contagious. And that's especially true for those who are highly empathic. I was mercilessly bullied in middle school, raped twice in high school, and went to university at the age of 17 in Philly, even though I'm from New York. And that was really, really far away. I chose an aggressive course curriculum, majoring in psychology while minoring in cognitive neuroscience, while working 2 jobs to help ease the burden on my parents. After graduation, I jumped right into a master's program where I promptly developed shingles, an illness that is caused by severe stress. After graduation, I opened my first private practice and it floundered. I quickly got married at the ripe age of 24 and had my 2 children at a time when my business was particularly vulnerable, and I developed postpartum depression after each birth. Outwardly, my life looked perfect. Inwardly, I was dying inside. I, like many, had learned to keep moving. That strength comes from picking up your chin, putting a smile on your face, and moving forward. But it turns out that this is a recipe for avoidance, not resilience. When we examine the impact of the events occurring in our external world, by choosing to repress our emotions and experiences, we are creating a constant state of panic within the body. And this never-ending panic is referred to as chronic stress. According to various scientific studies, chronic stress has such a significant impact on the immune system that it is the number one cause of disease. Just let that sink in for a second. Stress, chronic stress, is the number one cause of disease, not your genetics, not your environment. It's stress. And we are all stressed. Chronic stress suppresses the immune system by increasing suppressor T cell and catecholamine, altering acid concentration within the human body, causing plaque buildup in the arteries, and altering the production and reception of certain neurotransmitters in the brain. Ultimately, our stress level is slowly killing us from the inside out. And in a society where appearance is everything, repressing our emotions has become the standard. We are doing everything wrong when it comes to our health. And unlearning repression begins with the acknowledgement that we are making ourselves sick. We can unlearn repression fairly easily by daring to examine what Carl Jung coined the shadow. The shadow is just a term for the unconscious mind, which is essentially everything lying beneath the surface of our awareness that we repress either on purpose or unintentionally. The unconscious mind is an innate feature of the brain and is sort of like a landing area for trauma. Let me explain how this process happens. Imagine the brain as a type of sorting system. Every piece of input that the brain receives needs to be categorized and sorted so that the brain knows how to process it. When the brain needs to access with a certain input, it goes to the conscious mind, where you remain fully aware of its presence. When an input the brain is so familiar with that it no longer needs to actively interact, it goes to the subconscious mind. This is like being on autopilot. This is stuff like breathing or falling asleep at night. It just happens automatically. You don't have to think about it too much. And for the input that the brain doesn't want you to interact with because it is potentially harmful or traumatic, that goes to the unconscious mind, where it can be thoroughly repressed. Every hardship you have faced, every trauma you've encountered, and every extreme negative emotion that you have felt throughout your entire life lives within the shadow. You can imagine how dense the shadow becomes as we repress for years at a time. The weight of what lies within the shadow is an enormous burden for our soul to carry. And that was invariably true for me. While I wasn't consciously aware of what was weighing me down, I was undoubtedly carrying the weight of my accumulating shadow over the course of my 30 years of life. And as long as I continued to repress my shadow, I kept myself in a state of chronic stress. Now, from this new vantage point, my cervical cancer kind of feels like it was inevitable. If I were to force myself into a state of chronic stress, disease was unavoidable. It just was a matter of where the weak link in my chain was. And that, my friends, is where my mission comes in. I want you to live an abundant, incredible, beautiful, healthy life. I want you to have little to no shadow to contend with because you actively choose to examine the experiences you might otherwise repress and create new paradigms within your life. I want you to choose yourself every time because you are worthy of living a life of ease. You have the power to heal yourself from any long-term chronic ailment that you may face. Let that sink in for a second. No medications or surgeries required. And I'm not knocking either of those things because I've obviously needed both. And there's a time and a place for both. But you have the power within your body to heal yourself holistically. Your body, mind, and soul working together can help you heal from any chronic stress-related illness that exists. Let that sink in for a second. It sounds too good to be true, but in fact, this is actually proven by research time and time again, that human beings are extremely resilient and capable of creating change with only the power of our minds. It all starts with a choice. The choice to create an internal and external environment that promotes health and wellness at all times, with no exceptions. Our entire world is shaped through a very specific mind-body loop. It begins with our experiences. Everything we experience through sensory means is taken in by the mind. The mind processes these experiences by producing a chemical reaction, also known as an emotion, which is used then to communicate to the body. These chemicals send a message down the vagus nerve to our body about how we should physically respond to that experience that we just had. And our body acts accordingly by sending blood and oxygen wherever it needs to go. Then the body completes that feedback loop by sending a message back up to the mind in the form of a thought, sometimes referred to as an ego message, to make sense of the loop and what it means for the person who just had that experience. That entire feedback loop wires the brain. And the more consistent the loop is, the more hardwired we become. This loop constantly repeats, causing us to have lives that follow a very specific trajectory. Once the brain is hardwired, we subconsciously seek to recreate the same loop infinitely because it requires less effort for the mind and body to process it. This is exactly why we have such a hard time creating change and why have such an easy time creating discomfort and disease in our lives. This feedback loop repeats over and over and over again. The most recent research shows that 90% of the thoughts that we have on a regular basis are exactly the same as they were the day before, which means this feedback loop is just constantly recreating the same thing over and over and over again, day in and day out. Until now. Imagine you were to make a choice to choose to examine those things that have become hardwired within your brain. What if you were to trace them back to their origin and think about the emotions that are tied to them, how it physically feels within your body, and what it makes you think? What you might find is that these hardwired items are a series of choices that your mind has made for you about who you are and what your life should be. Now imagine a scenario where you choose to interrupt this feedback loop by actively overriding these data points. Let's use an example from my own rewiring process. When I began to examine my own feedback loops, I noticed that I had a hardwired pathway of needing control in my life. And that's not just because I'm a Capricorn or a New Yorker. I had many experiences where I felt out of control throughout my entire life, being poor, being bullied, being raped, developing cancer, and so on. The list is endless. The emotions tied to this feeling of being out of control for me were fear, shame, and anger. Physically within my body, that would drive me into a state called fight or flight, where adrenaline and cortisol would be produced and blood and oxygen would pump into the parts of my body that would assist me in either running away, fighting back, or freezing like a deer in headlights. And the thought most associated with being out of control for me was that I was unable to protect myself. Hacking the mind-body connection requires us to rewrite the narrative. And that is exactly what I had to do. The victim mentality that I had learned had kept me in a permanent state of chronic stress. And you guys know that that is the number one cause of disease. I needed to create a new story. And so I decided to rewrite the narrative as a hero's journey instead of a victim's. When I examined my experiences with fresh eyes, I noticed that I was someone who faced insurmountable odds and survived. When I look at these experiences, I think of myself as someone who overcame tragedy and created beauty from it. And when I see the experience in this way, I allow myself to feel the emotions of gratitude, acceptance, and even joy. These emotions have the exact opposite effect on my physical body as the negative ones did, causing blood and oxygen to flow to the areas that need healing, as I'm no longer in that state of fight or flight. And instead, I'm in a state referred to as rest and digest. And then I come full back to the thought that I'm a hero in this story. And that thought reinforces these experiences, reinforces these physical reactions, these emotions, that whole feedback loop. I believe to my core that my life has been beautiful. All it takes is a choice. You can actively choose to release the version of you sitting here at this talk during this Be Well Philly Fest, and choose a legacy of your own by taking your power back and becoming the author of your story. 2 years post-cervical cancer, I am the healthiest I have ever been. I no longer feel stress in my life, even when I'm overcoming something hard, because I know how to help my mind process the event consciously to prevent it from falling into the shadow. I now own a holistic healing center in Philadelphia, where I employ 8 wellness professionals of different backgrounds who help people tap into their limitless ability to heal from the inside out. I'm the co-host of a spirituality podcast where we bring healers from around the world onto the show to share their medicine. They talk about their dark night of the soul and how they have used their innate abilities to fully heal from the shadow they once carried. These guest experts are a perfect example of our potential to heal no matter the circumstances. I also co-host a self-care conference right here in Philly called Selfish Philly, where we bring in the best healing resources and experts from the area to show women that there are so many pathways to health and wellness. We teach them to break free of the outdated paradigm of merely reducing the warning signs of illness, and instead help them to work from a place of prevention to ensure their long-term health and happiness. And I myself have become a master shadow worker, helping release women from the unconscious traumas that they cannot discover on their own, to help them find their way to healing that they never thought possible. I've worked with thousands of people, and that number grows by the day. And my hope is that the number continues to grow until every person on this planet recognizes their own ability to overcome their biology and heal from the inside out. My legacy is the health and wellness of a generation of people who are sick of being sick, of the ones who are ready to overcome the odds and learn how to surpass what they thought was physically possible for human beings to accomplish, to rid themselves of the societal norms about what we are supposed to do, and to embrace the path that they themselves chose to lay before their own feet. My legacy is to use all the hardships I have faced to teach you that you do not need to wait for rock bottom to change your life. You can change from a place of peace, ease, grace, and love just as easily. My legacy is to help you create yours. And so with all that being said, what I would like to do now is to invite you to join me in a short meditation. Meditation is a powerful tool for hacking into the unconscious mind and rewiring that subconscious feedback loop. The way that this works is when we meditate, we're deepening our own ability to tap into what are called theta brainwaves. When we're awake and we're conscious, we are in different brainwave states than we're in when we're meditating or when we're asleep. And when we meditate, these theta brainwaves allow us to access unconscious memories and the subconscious mind. And as we do this, what happens is things come up to the surface that would otherwise stay hidden. When those things bubble up to the surface, they are there to be healed. They are there to be released. And when we don't do these sort of things like meditation, we are not able to access them. And we go on living in that constant state of fight or flight, living in chronic stress. So today I want to do something a little bit different. And so wherever you are, whether you're in Philly or somewhere else in the world, sitting on a beach or sitting in your bedroom, I want you to just make yourself comfortable. Just really relax. Adjust where you're sitting. If it makes you feel more comfortable, you can lie down. You can sit in a chair. You can sit up on the floor in easy pose. Whatever feels right for you in this moment, whatever feels good for your body. And what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to start taking really deep healing breaths, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. With each breath, allowing yourself to become lighter and freer. With each breath, allowing yourself to deepen into this meditative state. Really allowing yourself to create some ease within your body. As you breathe in, I want you to feel every bit of the air as it comes in through your nose, makes its way down the back of your throat, into your lungs, filling them up and allowing them to expand. And on the exhale, breathing out audibly through the mouth, releasing any tension, any stress, any heaviness that you might be carrying with you today, letting it all go on the exhales. Just really allowing yourself to sink in fully. As you continue that pattern of breath, beginning to bring awareness to the base of your spine, to your root chakra. At the base of your spine, at the root chakra, I want you to just feel into this area as you begin to ground and connect your energy in with the earth, fully grounding your energy here, fully tapping in to that portal, allowing yourself to open up and expand to receive the healing that you're going to give yourself today. Then let your awareness move up slightly to just behind your navel center. From this vantage point, from this energetic center, I want you to focus on your sacral chakra, fully breathing into this location, feeling into its energy, tapping into its divine wisdom as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, allowing yourself to sink even deeper still into this meditation. Bringing your awareness up to the solar plexus in the center of your torso, just where your ribs meet your stomach. Breathing into this location as you just notice energetically how your solar plexus feels right now. Does it feel tight or expansive? Does it feel free or trapped? Using your breath to lean into this part of your body, breathing in and out. Allowing your awareness to move up to your heart. And as you focus in on your heart chakra, noticing how it feels. Does it feel open and expansive and full of love and creativity? Or something else? As you breathe, focusing your energy in on that heart chakra within your chest. Feeling the breath opening up this area, opening up your chest as you breathe in and out. Allowing that air to heal anything that needs to be healed within the heart. Next, allowing your energy to move up to your throat chakra. And as you feel into your throat, feeling how expansive this energy can be, this center of clarity and communication, feeling into this position, feeling into this energy center as you breathe in and allow the air to move through it. Beautiful. Let your energy move up even more still until it reaches your third eye, just between your brow bones. And when you're tapped into that energy there, feel as if that third eye is opening. Really bring your attention to that third eye location between your brows. Feel the energy as it tingles in this spot, as your awareness and your intuition grow. Breathe as you allow that third eye to open just a bit more. And exhale as you release. Moving up to the final chakra, the crown, allowing your energy to move right up to the top of your head. I want you to begin to feel as if someone is tugging on a string, pulling you up out of the top of your head. Really focus in on this area of connectedness, of oneness, breathing into this last of the 7 major chakras, allowing that air to expand you, and breathing out fully with a big release. Now that you've tapped into all 7 of these chakras, I want you to feel as if a thin golden string is connecting each one from bottom to top, starting down at the base of your spine at the root, moving up to the sacral, moving up to the solar plexus, and then up to the heart, moving up to the throat, moving up to the third eye, and then up to the crown of your head. Just visualize that thin golden string connecting them all, making your body become completely in coherence as your brain and your body begin to act as one unit instead of as 2 separate ones. As you breathe into this feeling, I want you to ask yourself a question. Where can I release stress from my life? And as you ask that question, allow the answer to come to you. Feeling the answer emerge from your gut. Where can I allow stress to be released from my life? Wherever that is, whatever answer you were given, just notice it without any judgment. Just notice what the answer was. Where can you release the stress from? Breathe in deeply through the nose and fully through the mouth. Now I want you to ask yourself another question. Where does this stress live within my body? Maybe it's a pain in your back, an ankle sore that's never healed, tightness in the shoulders or the neck, gut issues that you can't rid yourself of. Just allow the answer to come to you, whatever it might be. Now I want you to think back to the earliest memory that you have of this particular trigger. How far back can you remember where the stress started from? Allow yourself to move back there. Maybe to your childhood or to your adolescence. Maybe it even started in your adulthood as your responsibilities grew exponentially. Just notice the original point, the earliest moment that you can remember from what this trigger has done to you. And once you have it and you can see it clearly in your mind, or you know it in your gut, even if you can't see it, just notice it with no judgment, just allowing it to be here. Breathing in and out fully. Allowing this information to settle within your system. Allowing yourself to just know it without judgment or shame or guilt. Just letting this information be. Just allowing it to exist. And when that's done, bring your awareness back into your physical body. Begin to breathe. And as you do, feel yourself dropping back in as you bring awareness to your extremities, wiggling your fingers and toes, feeling your lungs expanding and contracting with each breath, allowing yourself a little stretch, and to opening your eyes whenever you feel like you're ready. Good. As you come to, if you have somewhere that you can write some information down, take a moment and journal what you remember. Whether it's in the notes section in your phone or if you have a piece of paper nearby, just write down what you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. This all plays back into the information that I told you today, especially that mind-body loop. Our experiences create emotions, which create physical reactions, which create thoughts, and the loop is endless. So I want to ask you, what is the area of stress that your body is asking for you to release? If you remember it, write it down. Put it down so that you can actually see it in front of you visually. Where does it live within your body? Where do you experience this stress? For so many of us, we have aches and pains that don't go away, or we have gut issues. Maybe we have fogginess of the mind, feeling like we can't remember things. Whatever it was for you, just jot it down. Just see where it is that it's impacting. And then lastly, what is the earliest that you can remember this coming up for you? What's the earliest memory? Just write down a little note for yourself so you don't forget. And then what I want to do is I want to invite you to journal more on this later, to think more into how far back this goes. Maybe if you remember experiencing this level of stress as an adult and feeling like it's caused by your job, feeling like you can't turn it off. Like maybe since COVID has been a thing and you're working from home, there's no boundaries anymore. Maybe that lives within your back. And so that feeling of stress, your capacity to allow this to take over your life exists because this goes much further than that. It's a much deeper issue. So think back as far as you can go. Think to your childhood. When was the first time you felt that stress? The same kind. The one that gives you that pit in the center of your stomach, or when your heart is racing out of control, or that feeling of tension in your neck and shoulders. Whichever one feels like it's the same, journal on it. And what I want you to do is I want you to break this feedback loop for yourself, the way I did for myself, the way we at the Wellness Collective help thousands of people do for themselves. You have to break the feedback loop. All you have to do is create the change for yourself in whatever way you see fit. This can be anything. It could be creating new experiences. It could be doing something that you never would have considered before. At the Wellness Collective, we have Reiki Healing, which is a Japanese form of energy healing That is new for a lot of people, even though it's been around much longer than Western medicine has. But for us in the US, newer, and sometimes a little bit scary to try something new, to experience something different. And so what'll happen when people come to me, if we need to create a new experience, is I'll challenge them to step outside of their comfort zone, do something a little bit different. And when they do, it interrupts the feedback loop because now the experience is going to create different emotions, which create different physical reactions, which create different thoughts, interrupting the feedback loop of chronic stress. It doesn't even have to be something as intense as energy healing. It could be something as simple as an online yoga class. Every Saturday, the Wellness Collective hosts free virtual yoga. No one has to see you. You can keep your camera off. That way you can feel safe and in your body to explore something that might otherwise be hard. And that is another excellent way to break up that feedback loop and change the experiences, the emotions, the physical reactions, and the thoughts, altering them all together to move you away from chronic stress. If you walk away from this talk with anything, I hope it is the knowledge that you can heal yourself from the inside out, that you have all the power within yourself, that you don't have to listen to the information that you're given. Take everything with a grain of salt, even everything that I'm saying today. Use discernment. Learn that there are so many incredible wellness resources in this city. We are so lucky to live in a mecca for health and wellness, to have amazing resources like Be Well Philly that are constantly giving us information about what is available to us, and ultimately to have access to your own inner guidance. Meditate. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. Meditation is not easy for anyone at first. Even me, I promise it took me a while. But when you meditate, what you're doing is you are clearing out everything that doesn't need to be there and opening up the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind. You are accessing the things that are actually the root cause of what is making you sick. Instead of taking a pill to silence it, to turn off the warning lights, to dull the symptoms, you are actually going to get to the root of why you're feeling the way you are, or why your life looks the way that it does. And when you can get to the root, you can change everything. Thank you guys so much for listening to this talk today. Remember to tune into the Be Energized session tomorrow at 8 a.m. for an alignment-based yoga flow with Lisa O'Rear. And don't forget to check out the directory on the event site to find information about my company, the Wellness Collective, Philadelphia's first holistic healing center. Thank you, everyone.